Hello everybody and welcome to Dream Better English with me, James O'Reilly. Today I'm bringing you another article to help you guys with your listening and hopefully give you some vocabulary and grammar while we're at it. Okay, so let's look at a bit of the vocabulary that we're going to meet today in the article. Our first word is dilemma. Dilemma means major problem. Bitter is our next word, and bitter in this context means intense. Okay, very strong. Next word is staple food, which is a food that is eaten often enough to be considered part of the diet of a people. So typical examples would be bread, tea, coffee, things like this. Our next word is franchise. I'll have to give you an example for this. So a franchise it's the authority given to a company to operate in a country. So an example would be McDonald's. In different countries, McDonald's is operated by different companies. So in Australia, it's operated by one company, and in France, it's operated by a different company. This is a franchise. And finally, we have VAT, value, which stands for value added tax. And this is a European tax that we pay on products. Okay then, so our article today comes from The Guardian, and it's about Subway. So it's been decided that Subway's bread is not bread. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Okay, so for those of us wrestling with the great food philosophical dilemmas of our time, are Jaffa cakes actually cakes or just arrogant biscuits? Is putting chorizo in paella really an act of gastronomic terrorism? And what kind of monster doesn't love Marmite? Okay, well, you can give thanks to the Irish Supreme Court, who earlier this week brought clarity to an important, if less bitterly contested, debate. What happened was that Subway, which operates in 110 countries around the world, selling its sandwiches, and I must say I do, in fact, myself, do definitely like Subway sandwiches. The court decided that the bread used by Subway is not, in fact, considered bread. The franchise that operates for Subway in Ireland was trying to get money back that it paid for VAT, but the court ruled that it was not considered bread, and the reason it did so was an act or a law from 1972 that made the difference between what can be considered part of the staple diet and then exempt from tax, which means you don't pay tax, and what would then be considered confectionery, such as chocolate or biscuits. And where the difference was made was that if it were to be considered part of the staple diet, it could not have more than 2% of sugar in the dough compared to the flour. The flour is, when we make bread, we use flour. So it could not have more than 2%. Well, in fact, Subway's bread contains 5 times more. So it has 10% in comparison to the flour. So it was then considered confectionery and not bread. So Subway were the franchise and Subway, of course, were not impressed by this, but that was the ruling given by the Irish court. And asked by the Guardian newspaper for a comment, a spokesperson or a person who speaks for Subway said, "Of course it's bread." So they are not happy with the result, as you can imagine. This is not the only time that this has happened with food. Jaffa cakes, which are very... Well, it's interesting because Jaffa cakes are what I would call a biscuit that are very popular in the United Kingdom, and a lot of people love Jaffa cakes. It's basically a biscuit that on the bottom is kind of soft, with like a sponge, then a gelatine on top of that, and then a chocolate on top. But it's basically the size of a biscuit. Well, they went to court to consider themselves, in order to not pay as much VAT, they wanted to be considered a cake. For some reason, biscuits pay more tax than cakes. So the court decided that indeed Jaffa cakes could be considered cakes, given the way they were made, and they were then exempt, or did not have to pay for the tax. They were exempt, and also this year in Holland, or the Netherlands, it's quite interesting. There was a sex shop that was selling pills, and they also tried to be exempt from paying tax, because they said their pills, which were used as an aphrodisiac, were in fact food. But the court ruled that, it went to the highest court in Europe, the court ruled that no, even though they claimed that it was food, it was not used for nutritional purposes. Okay, so there you go. That's kind of interesting. Let me just give you a few examples of what other companies are the sugar content that the other companies have in their bread, or different things. So Pret a Manger is a chain or a franchise operates in the UK, and their bread has 0.6 grams, so that can be considered bread. One Digestive biscuit, which is very common in the UK to have with your tea, has 2.4 grams, so this is considered a biscuit or confectionery. Subway, we know, has 5 grams. McDonald's, a Big Mac burger bun, has 5.8 grams. Okay, so would also be considered confectionery, so they will be paying tax in Ireland. One Jaffa cake has 6.4 grams, and a slice of cake from Marks and Spencer's 28.9 grams. So there you go. That's quite an interesting article, again from The Guardian. I hope you enjoyed that article and you got some valuable vocabulary. Please subscribe, and I hope to talk to you guys very soon. Have a very good day. Bye bye.